You carry a light that no one can ignore, though many can't explain. The changes within you have been so swift, so profound, that the world around you has begun to tilt in your direction without fully realizing why. There is a rhythm in your life now that wasn't there before, like a new song only you can hear. That melody doesn't just stay with you, it spills into the spaces you walk through, making others pause, wonder, and lean in closer without knowing why they're drawn. When growth accelerates, it leaves a trace in the air, as if the atmosphere shifts to make room for what you're becoming. Those near you may feel unsettled, caught between admiration and confusion, because they can sense something expanding in you that they haven't yet touched within themselves. Your presence is no longer neutral, it acts as a spark. Some will feel warmed by it, inspired to rise higher. Others will fidget, restless, uncertain of how to respond. But either way, you've become impossible to dismiss. This kind of transformation doesn't happen quietly, it's not meant to. Just as a seed breaking through the soil cracks the ground, your evolution has created new openings, and those watching can't help but notice the cracks forming in their own routines. You've stepped into a current that moves faster than most are willing to swim. And as you keep flowing forward, you'll find that some chase after you, some try to anchor you, and some simply marvel from the shore. Yet none can deny that the tide has shifted because of you. What you embody now is a signal, a reminder that change is possible, that courage reshapes reality, and that transformation cannot be hidden. You are living proof that renewal is contagious, and those who cross your path will never leave quite the same. They wonder how a soul can move through storms with steady breath, how a heart can rise after being shattered, how serenity can remain when the ground beneath is shifting. To them, the quiet resilience feels like a riddle they cannot decode, an unsolved puzzle that keeps them staring longer than they admit. What they search for is not a hidden trick or some technique scribbled in secret journals. What stands before them is the result of a journey that required facing truths instead of escaping them. It is the natural unfolding of a spirit that stopped resisting its own direction and finally allowed itself to walk straight into alignment. The transformation unsettles them because it defies expectation. Pain became a forge instead of a prison, disappointment became guidance instead of chains, solitude became nourishment instead of despair. Most stay circling the same patterns, holding onto old wounds like anchors. But this story was rewritten. A different chapter was chosen. And now, the harvest of that choice is clear. Observers wear many masks, colleagues who lean closer, curious about the rhythm of your day, relatives who sense a shift but can't describe it, strangers who feel your presence before you even speak. Each tries in their own way to grasp what they cannot name. Some companions admire yet hesitate, drawn by the gravity of your energy but unsure if they can stand near it for long. Their questions are silent but heavy. How did this strength take root? How did this clarity remain unshaken? How does peace live here? What they cannot perceive is that no door was unlocked with shortcuts, no overnight miracle appeared. What radiates outward is the reflection of countless unseen moments, meeting the shadows within, choosing courage where comfort called louder, refusing to retreat into old versions of self. The mystery they chase is nothing more than the evidence of work done in silence, of lessons turned into living wisdom, of growth that demanded sacrifice and devotion. And in witnessing it, whether they confess it or not, they are reminded that such transformation is possible for them too, if they choose. There are eyes that watch with genuine wonder, drawn to the calm you radiate and the steadiness that follows you into every room. To them, your way of moving through challenges feels like a map they've never seen before, and their hearts lean forward because a part of them longs to discover that path for themselves. Those who approach with openness often do so because your progress stirs a memory in them, a quiet knowing that life can be lighter, freer, and more aligned than what they've settled for. They see what flows through you and sense that it's possible for them too. But alongside this group stands another. Their gaze isn't fueled by hope, but by unease, because your expansion makes them face what they've refused to confront in themselves. For some, your presence acts as a mirror they didn't ask to look into. The steadiness in your spirit throws light on the parts of them still caught in hesitation, still bound by excuses. And rather than embrace that reflection, they attempt to dismiss it, to reduce it, to prove that what they see in you isn't real. These are the ones who push at your edges, hoping to find a weakness. They question, they stir, they attempt to provoke, convinced that if they pull hard enough, the mask will slip and reveal that you are no different than they are. What unsettles them most is that the mask they're trying to rip away no longer exists. The one they remember, the version that once bent under pressure, the self that once crumbled under old triggers, has already been left behind. That chapter closed the moment you chose growth over repetition, clarity over illusion, freedom over fear. Now, what moves through you is not the echo of who you were but the resonance of who you've become. They sense it without fully grasping it, a frequency no longer matching theirs, a presence that feels familiar yet unreachable, a current they cannot swim in without first changing themselves. And so, their confusion grows. What they chase cannot be caught because it isn't a trick to be copied or a performance to be exposed, it's transformation embodied. What they're really seeing is proof that renewal is possible, and it unsettles them because deep down, they know the only way to meet you at this level is to walk their own path of becoming. What once was tangled in restlessness has now settled into ease. What once was bound by doubt has grown into steady assurance. What once bent under the weight of pleasing others now stands tall in authentic presence. The contrast is so immense that it feels as if an entirely new being has emerged, carrying a life force the former self could only dream of. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, let that love shine. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to plant seeds of faith that will impact countless lives. Your generosity reflects His abundance. Be a vessel of His grace and watch His kingdom flourish through you. The earlier version of you might have sought approval, answering questions that never deserved answers, trying to win over hearts that were closed from the start. But this new self carries a different knowing. Growth doesn't require permission slips, and no voice outside of you can dictate your worth. Justification is no longer part of your vocabulary. There is no need to dilute your light to soothe the unease of those who resist change. What confuses them most is not your progress itself, but your refusal to be pulled back into their cycles. They expect you to play the old games, to be swayed into conflict, to echo their unrest, but you no longer give them that satisfaction. Their agitation deepens when they discover their familiar tools have lost power over you. The subtle chains of shame no longer bind because you've learned to recognize the difference between honest responsibility and manipulative weight. Threats lose their grip because certainty in your own resilience has become your foundation. Even anger, once a trigger that sparked instant reaction, now meets still waters. You've mastered the pause, the ability to choose rather than to be dragged into reflex. And it unsettles them, because they stand before someone whose balance cannot be bought or broken. In their eyes, you've become an unsolvable equation, a person no longer living in defense, but in full acceptance of who they are. To those who have never touched that level of acceptance within themselves, it feels like staring at something otherworldly. What truly bewilders them is not strategy or technique, it is the undeniable force of self-respect turned into a way of life. A soul that no longer needs applause to feel complete radiates a power beyond imitation. That is the mystery they circle, but can never unravel. There is a steadiness in you that confuses those who try to measure it. You don't cling to hands that let go, you don't bend for scraps of validation, and you never shrink to make yourself smaller for the comfort of others. Such unapologetic self-assurance unsettles many because it reveals a strength they cannot categorize. Yet beneath their curiosity lies something deeper they can't quite name. It isn't only the change itself that has caught their attention, it's the rhythm of its unfolding. They puzzle over how such a shift could appear so sudden, unaware that every step you've taken, every scar you've carried, every choice to rise instead of retreat has been quietly shaping this moment for years. What looks like lightning to them was, in truth, a fire built patiently over time. The essence you radiate now is not a mask you crafted but the byproduct of walking into the places most avoid. You've wrestled with shadows, unstitched old wounds, and brought hidden truths into the light. Where others saw endings, you discovered gateways. Where others saw obstacles, you uncovered direction. Your mystery isn't an illusion, it's the clarity earned from facing what was once unbearable. Those who watch don't only wonder about your transformation, they're startled by how you carry firmness without cruelty. They've met people who collapse into compliance and others who barricade themselves behind walls, but you embody neither. Instead, you move with boundaries that are strong yet compassionate, a paradox they can't reconcile. This balance disorients them because extremes are familiar, but equilibrium feels ungraspable. You say no without bitterness, protect your energy without hostility, and hold space without abandoning yourself. To those who know only rigidity or collapse, your ability to hold both strength and kindness at once feels almost impossible. What they're sensing is the harmony of forces within you, the joining of resolve and tenderness, clarity and openness, independence and connection. They're baffled by your indifference to trophies, titles, or trends. The fact that your worth isn't purchased, worn, or displayed in status symbols makes you an enigma in a world addicted to surface recognition. And what mystifies them most is your refusal to be fooled by appearances. You've learned the subtle art of choosing alignment over applause, fulfillment over empty reward, and depth over shallow validation. This discernment, rare and unwavering, creates a presence that feels almost unearthly to those still chasing illusions, and it leaves them wondering how you became untouchable while remaining so human. What confounds them most is not only that success touches your life, but the way you carry it. Triumph doesn't inflate you, nor do you wield accomplishments as weapons to belittle others. Instead, victories rest lightly in your hands, handled with reverence and quiet gratitude. You use your rise as a bridge for others, and this generosity makes you even more enigmatic. They also wrestle with the contradiction of your spirit. They know your struggles, they've seen the weight of your history, yet what shines through you now is joy. Hope pours out of you where bitterness might have lived. To those who cling to their scars as excuses, your radiance feels illogical, almost impossible. What they cannot piece together is how the fragments of your pain became building blocks instead of barriers. Where others remained trapped in cycles, you crafted wisdom from hardship, strength from sorrow. And this alchemy shifted not just your inner world but the company you keep, drawing to you people who reflect the new heights of your energy. They notice, too, how easily you've shed connections that no longer serve your path. To them, releasing unhealthy ties seems like sorcery, but you understand it simply as alignment. What astonishes them is your ability to love with depth yet not cling, to embrace wholeheartedly but also to release gracefully when necessary. Your way of relating unsettles them because it doesn't fit their definitions. They confuse devotion with possession, care with control, and loyalty with self-erasure. Yet you've mastered a different way: support without entanglement, compassion without depletion, love without losing yourself. That balance reads like a code they cannot decipher. They are equally baffled by the way you meet uncertainty. While many collapse into frustration or attempt to bend circumstances to their will, you lean into the unknown with patience and creativity. Delays don't crush you, obstacles don't cage you. What steadies you is trust in the unseen rhythm of life, a confidence that everything unfolds exactly when it should. And at the center of it all lies your ability to listen inwardly. Choices are made not from external noise, but from the quiet authority of intuition. This kind of trust in oneself cannot be mimicked or staged. It is earned through surrender, through listening deeply, through walking paths others avoid. To those investigating you, this inner compass is the most baffling mystery of all. Observers can't help but notice the unusual way you move through your days. They see results without frantic effort, progress without the need for constant motion. You no longer race against time to prove value. Instead, you direct your energy with focus, letting your actions stem from clarity rather than pressure. This calm productivity bewilders those who believe speed equals success. To them, presence feels like an unreachable luxury. They don't understand how you manage to be fully engaged in a single moment, giving your complete attention without splitting yourself between past regrets and future worries. When you share space with others, they feel the fullness of your attention, and that undivided presence feels almost otherworldly in a culture addicted to distraction. What deepens the mystery is your ability to draw meaning from the simple and the small. You found wonder where others overlook it, lessons in the ordinary, and beauty in the subtle rhythms of daily life. While they chase the extraordinary to feel alive, you extract richness from what is already here, and that makes them question everything they thought fulfillment required. The truth they sense but cannot name is that your quiet practices have sculpted an aura around you. Whether through reflection, stillness, or communion with nature, you've built depth that is felt rather than explained. This depth unsettles those who search for dramatic highs, because what you embody is steady, enduring, and quietly luminous. Equally confusing to them is your relationship with the unknown. Where many panic in uncertainty, you seem to relax, understanding that possibility lives in the uncharted. You welcome pauses and silences as doorways, not voids. You've become at ease with solitude, not because you need no one, but because you've learned to find wealth in your own company. They cannot comprehend how obstacles don't break you but instead refine you. Where they see punishments, you see opportunities. Where they see barriers, you see lessons in disguise. This resilience unsettles them most, because it reveals that strength isn't inherited, it's cultivated. You've taken what was meant to diminish you and turned it into the very material that built you. And the essence of your mystery lies in remembering who you are beneath all the false layers the world once imposed. By shedding what never belonged to you, you've stepped into authenticity so rare it feels untouchable. That authenticity, luminous and unshaken, will always confound those unwilling to face themselves. Let them wonder. Their confusion is simply proof of your evolution. You stand as evidence that human potential is far greater than most dare to believe. The expansion within you, the healing you've embraced, the heights you've reached, all of it demonstrates that change is not only possible, but inevitable for those who choose it. The attention you receive isn't a burden, it is confirmation that your growth has become impossible to ignore. What you embody now is nothing short of miraculous. Each step you take reflects the power of conscious choice, a living demonstration that evolution is real when one dares to walk toward it. In a world desperate for examples, you've become one, not by design, but by devotion. You are the reminder that a human life can be rewritten into something extraordinary. What captivates your observers most is your way of approaching life from fullness instead of fear. They see that you don't cling to opportunities as if they'll disappear, nor do you clutch relationships out of desperation. You move as though there will always be enough, for yourself, for others, for everyone. And this generosity unsettles those whose lives are built on scarcity. They marvel at how you can celebrate another's success without envy, how joy in someone else's gain does not diminish your own. You've discovered that blessings are not limited or reserved, and in cheering others on you amplify your own abundance. This confuses those who believe that life is a contest, that for one person to rise another must fall. Equally perplexing is the way you welcome what is given to you. Compliments, opportunities, gifts, you allow them in without shrinking or dismissing yourself. To you, receiving is not selfish but sacred, an exchange that honors both giver and receiver. Those who secretly feel undeserving of good things cannot understand the quiet confidence you hold in your own worth. Your resilience also leaves them in awe. When outcomes diverge from plans, you do not collapse in despair. You take what comes, extract its lesson, and transform it into strength. Where others see mistakes as shame, you see directions to adjust. Where others view setbacks as endings, you see hidden beginnings waiting to unfold. And perhaps the greatest enigma is this: you've stopped seeing failure as an enemy. Instead, you've learned to treat every stumble as part of the rhythm that carried you here. To those who see missteps as evidence of weakness, your perspective is incomprehensible. But to those who are ready, your example is the spark that proves reinvention is possible. What astonishes those observing you is the way you relate to your inner world. Feelings rise and fall within you, yet they do not dictate your choices. You allow emotions to move through without clinging to them or denying them. This calm awareness gives you a strength that many cannot fathom, for most are either drowning in their emotions or trying to silence them completely. Equally perplexing is the way you present yourself to others. No matter the setting or the company, you remain the same. There are no costumes, no carefully constructed versions of yourself designed to please or persuade. Your authenticity is steady, and this rare consistency unsettles those who shift identities depending on the room they enter. They are also intrigued by how you handle material blessings. You don't idolize possessions, nor do you reject them. You treat resources as tools, useful, temporary, and purposeful. This neutrality confuses those who live in extremes, either chasing wealth as their master or condemning it as their enemy. What they fail to understand is the harmony you've developed with your physical being. You listen to its signals instead of ignoring them. You allow rest without guilt, nourishment without shame, movement without force. Your body has become a trusted guide, and that quiet connection is foreign to those who live in disconnection from their own needs. The same balance appears in how you interact with technology. While others are consumed by endless scrolling, comparisons, and compulsive validation seeking, you use these tools with intention. You remain whole whether you're visible to the world or in silence, online or offline. That equilibrium unsettles a culture built on constant distraction. They also notice your relationship with desire itself. You set clear intentions without demanding rigid outcomes. You act, release, and trust. Instead of trying to bend life to your will, you allow life to unfold in timing and form you cannot always predict. To those who cling tightly to control, this ability to release is deeply mysterious. What they are truly studying is a way of being that defies their conditioning. You've learned to weave together awareness, authenticity, balance, and trust into a life that feels aligned. To them it seems like an enigma, but to you it is simply the result of listening deeply to your emotions, your body, your spirit, and the quiet wisdom that guides you forward. What leaves them bewildered is the way you hold intention and release control at the same time. You move toward your vision with focused action, yet you don't strangle life with demands. You allow timing to unfold in ways you couldn't have scripted, and this union of determination and surrender unsettles those who only know extremes of domination or passivity. They are even more puzzled by your ability to live in two worlds at once. You carry out daily tasks with presence while remaining attuned to a higher awareness. You manage ordinary responsibilities without forgetting the vastness of your essence. You face obstacles here on earth while remembering that your nature is not confined to it. This blending of dimensions appears impossible to those who separate the sacred from the practical. What they study with fascination is your clarity. You no longer chase distractions disguised as opportunities. Your choices are shaped by values rooted deep within, and this foundation makes your decisions precise. To those still pulled in every direction by impulse and fear of missing out, your unwavering priorities feel like a mystery they cannot solve. Your decisiveness unsettles them further, especially when combined with your perspective on impermanence. You do not cling to things that are destined to pass. You recognize the fragility of form without being defeated by it. This awareness makes you savor the present, holding what you love with reverence but not with chains. Those who fear endings cannot comprehend how you live with such peace. What confuses them most is how little external approval sways you. Criticism doesn't shake your foundation, nor does praise inflate your sense of self. You've discovered that every act, whether sweeping a floor or signing a contract, can be sacred if approached with presence. To those who divide their lives into ordinary and holy, your way of being feels like another language entirely. They also observe the way you meet change. While others fight against every twist, you adjust. Where most would resist, you adapt. You've stopped demanding that life bend to your expectations and instead meet it where it arrives, discovering growth even in the unexpected. This flowing resilience is alien to those who define strength as control. What they are truly trying to grasp is how you've woven effort with trust, clarity with openness, presence with transcendence. To them it seems like an impossible paradox, but to you it has become a way of living. And in that balance lies the real mystery, not that you've escaped being human, but that you've learned how to be fully human while remembering you are far more. What unsettles those who observe you is the ease with which you move through change. You don't cling to old structures or fight against life's shifts, you allow what is, and in doing so, you find peace. They can't comprehend how you remain hopeful without ignoring reality, how you carry optimism without losing clarity. To them, this balance looks impossible. What also puzzles them is the way you hold love. You see the world as imperfect yet still worthy of care. You believe in humanity's potential while acknowledging its flaws. You remain open-hearted without falling into denial. This kind of love, compassionate yet boundaried, confuses those who either give themselves away completely or close their hearts out of fear. They don't understand how you can stand beside someone without being consumed by their chaos. How you can wish people well while stepping aside if they cross your lines. How you can love deeply but refuse to enable destruction. To those who confuse attachment with devotion, your ability to protect yourself while still caring seems like an unsolvable riddle. Equally baffling is your relationship with growth. You treat life as a school, every encounter as a lesson, every challenge as a teacher. You choose curiosity over judgment, humility over pride, openness over defense. To those who pretend to know it all or who fear looking foolish, your willingness to remain a student forever is mysterious. They also study your patience with life's unfolding. You don't scramble to keep pace with others' timelines. You don't rush what isn't ready. You trust that the right doors will open in the right season. To those addicted to instant results, your ability to wait with faith feels like something supernatural. What makes you even harder to grasp is how you no longer apologize for being yourself. You don't shrink to fit smaller spaces or dim your brightness to soothe others' discomfort. You stand fully in who you are, unedited and unmasked. For those still chasing approval from outside voices, this unapologetic authenticity feels foreign.